so those are just some, there's a lot said about working with desire in these 5 hindrances. The next one is ill will, and this we can have towards people, objects, situations, all kinds of things. When it's with people, the Buddha taught about doing metta or loving kindness meditation, and then gave really specific instructions about if you're angry at someone and your mind has all these angry thoughts, you start with someone that's kind of easy. Maybe start with yourself and generate that feeling in yourself of care and love and wanting happiness for yourself, and then move on to someone who you are having affectionate feelings for, and then maybe neutral feelings. And then once your mind is a little more settled down, because remember, we're doing this in the context of we're trying to stay on this object of meditation. Our mind is not able to do it at all. We've tried the simple things of bringing it back, but these thoughts are intruding. And so you have to switch the object now to working with these angry conceptions. So then you bring it around finally to the person that you're having aversion towards, and now you've got this energy going, and that is, kind of a quick explanation of one way to work with that. But there are many ways to work with anger, and I think one way that I often look at this is in terms of trying to also generate compassion and trying to see the suffering that's happening in another person. I find that quite effective. I often will look at the situation and see, why am I in this situation? Why am I having this happen with another person? Well, my own karma is ripening here, so things I've done in the past. We can have ill will or anger towards inanimate things, and this comes up quite a bit, like maybe we don't like the food we're eating, or maybe we don't like the bed we're sleeping on, or maybe we, just inanimate objects. The one that I think about mostly was like if sounds happen, like if someone says something to me that I find critical, or if I'm in a situation where I want it to be quiet and all this noise is happening. What I often do is I don't usually break it down into the elements like they say in the scriptures, but I'll oftentimes break it down into like, this is just sound waves, and try to get my mind to just take this in as, oh, these are sound waves. I'm reacting to these sound waves. I don't really have to put all this content on these sound waves. And so in the sutra, they talk about, for like material things, breaking it down into the elements. And so for me, I would tend to, for objects, think more in terms of atoms and molecules and things like that. So like, say if, I think of that sometimes in terms of my hair, when people make comments to me about, don't you miss having hair or something like that, I usually say, well, it's just a bunch of collagen molecules, nothing to really be so interested in there, and they don't kind of get it. But that's kind of how I've always felt about it. So from the day it got cut off, it was like, okay, here we go. Wasn't that big of a deal. So I don't know, all the situations are different, but I think the one thing in terms of with other people that's also useful is looking at what are the conditions that are arising. And so in Shantideva, when he tries to teach us about patience, he says, when seeing friends or enemies do wrong deeds, think, such are his conditions, and let your mind be at ease. And so these are, this is a way of thinking about what comes up. It makes it much less personal. Instead of like, I'm angry at that person, you can just kind of let your mind be much broader and see, wow, this is a dependent arising. There are so many factors going into this moment. Years of factors on both sides between people coming together in this moment. And when I think that way, my anger quite subsides. So these are just quick examples of how to replace one thought with another, and then get your mind to settle, and then being able to bring it back. And then the last one we'll talk about today of the hindrances is the one about sloth and torpor. And then next time we'll do the other two. So this is the third hindrance to meditation, and this is when the mind is kind of getting dull mostly, or if you go far enough, kind of going asleep. So you're kind of nodding off when you're trying to meditate. And so oftentimes we're instructed to, do exercise, prostrations and things before we meditate, if that's a continual problem for us. But also, if you're in meditation, you can actually do things with your mind to kind of change it. And I think letting more light in is quite helpful. I also think trying to kind of enthuse your mind in some way. So something that inspires you is what I usually, try to come up with, something that invigorates me. And so, I might think about, like, how do I want to spend this session? Am I just going to let my mind go this way and kind of lull around, or am I just going to, I just make more effort? But sometimes I will think about things like the different qualities of the Buddha, and just anything in the Dharma that really inspires my mind, and that has been helpful for me and also for others. And it's also possible that it's our karma that's ripening, that's making this happen. And so they often teach about how we're treating holy objects. This is one of the results of not showing proper respect and taking care of holy objects, is that then in meditation you might have this as an obstacle. And we certainly have talked about that here before. My own kind of thought is that it's also quite helpful to keep your meditation space quite clean. I think that for me, this is just my personal thing. I feel like cleaning the meditation hall is one of my ways of creating positive causes that will enhance my meditation concentration. And I actually think about that often when I clean the hall. It's like, yeah, this is a good thing to do, because I notice just naturally when I'm in a space that's quite messy, my mind is much more distracted. So I feel, well, if this space is kind of clean, then it will be easier for me to concentrate. And I think about it in that way. And that's pretty, I think most people have had that experience just looking at your desk when you're trying to do a project. Don't you find you kind of have to clean your desk first and take care of a few things before you can really concentrate your mind on the thing that you want to do next? So I've put all that in that same vein. Okay, so we've gone over the sensual desire, the ill will, and the sloth and torpor today.